Hello Internet, I'm Remote Leg, and welcome to the LifeStyles project, a study of A-Life. The problem with the world turning to salt instead of soil has been solved. I just didn't let the simulation run long enough. All the liquids froze into salt, but the simulation ended before the majority of salt froze into sand. If there's more than one type of solid at a location, the map displays the topmost one. So the map was displaying the thick layer of salt that covered the world at that time. Simple enough, but I spent a few hours trying to work it out. On the bright side, I built a few investigative tools while I was searching for the problem. I now have this screen that lets me see exactly what is at a location. I can enter any coordinates and it shows me what's there and what's nearby. I should explain some of these columns. The world now has altitude. By adding up the values for all the liquids and solids, I can get a height for this piece of landscape. Why do we care? Because with altitude, I can start flowing liquids from high places to lower places. I'm at the early stages right now, but it's coming along nicely. That's where forces come in. I decided that when a liquid flows to another location, it causes a slight force in that direction. Forces can drag tiny pieces of solids in that direction, and this way I create erosion. Later I might find other ways of creating forces and increase the erosion in windy places, but for now it's just liquids that cause forces. The map controls have also been expanded. This force button allows us to see forces acting on the surface. A standard I'm using for the map is that the brighter the green dot, the more of that thing is there. So there's obviously something going on down in this area. Forces appear to be heading southeast. Also, we can now choose a specific substance to show on the map, like salt and sand. I've even begun designing the surface contours in bedrock. It's pretty rough at the moment, but I've got some mountains around the edges to keep the water in, and the start of an ocean here. I've mapped all the bedrock in our old friend Excel, and trust me when I say that manually creating bedrock values for 90,000 locations is incredibly tedious. I'm getting liquids to flow, so I've turned off the transmutation physics. Things don't freeze or boil at the moment, so I can concentrate on seeing them flow. Here's my current bug. Perhaps it's hard to see because I need to pick colours for foam and water that contrast better. Let me show you on the quantity map. Notice how the foam is starting to pile up in the southeast corner of the map? Water is doing it too, but not as quickly. I don't know why this is happening, but I think it explains these high forces in the area. It's not because this area is lower than the rest of the world, because this map shows the relative altitudes of all the locations, and we can see that so much foam has built up that it's now higher than most. All I know is that there's a great tsunami of foam and water building down there. Heaven help us if it decides to flow back again. I need to fix this before we all drown. You hang out in the northwest where it's dry, I'll grab some flippers and investigate. Two days of investigative coding and I've finally fixed it. A-Life can get really complicated sometimes. Flowing liquids in this world works like a farm irrigation sprinkler. This was just a choice I made because the program can only flow in one direction at a time. Each location flows liquids to all the neighbouring locations as it works its way around the compass, just like a sprinkler. So we start at north, direction 0, and flow whatever is required. Next we try northeast, direction 1, and check to see if we flow anything, and so on around the compass. Obviously, by the time we get all the way around to northwest, the liquid might be all gone. This is unfair to the people who live in the northwest, and this is why the flow favoured the southeast direction. I need to vary the starting direction for the sprinkler each time so everybody gets a drink. Which is what I did, but it wasn't enough. I always check locations for flow in this order: west to east, then north to south. It sounds good, but this can cause a cascade effect where liquid can flow all the way across the map in one cycle if the terrain is right. Liquid that flows east immediately gets rechecked to see if it wants to flow again, so I fixed this too. I start by checking the same way as before, but I no longer check adjacent locations. I only check 1 in 4. On alternate cycles, I'll check east to west and south to north, then north to south and east to west, finally south to north and west to east. That mixes things up enough to finally get an even distribution across the whole world. Phew, what a lot of work just to get rivers to flow. Crazy. I don't like this because it's inefficient, but what can I do? We need the flow to be even throughout the world, and this works. So we've got liquids flowing across the world's surface. We've got substances that can freeze and boil. Now we just need a sun to warm everything up, and we've got weather. I wonder how hot I should make it, and how many hours in a day. Oh, how many days in a year?